Hey everybody. We are going to start into our first video for this next week. We're in week 5, and we have at least week 5 and week 6 for us for online learning. So you get to see me through the camera a little bit more. So fun. All right. Today, what we're going to be starting to talk about is vertex form. So we have already talked about standard form, and we've looked at factored form of quadratic equations. And now we're headed into vertex form and seeing what the pros and cons are of each of these are. Just one moment while I turn down the monitor real quick for my son. My husband's upstairs. I'm not just ignoring my 3-year-old. Okay. All right, here we go. So vertex form. Let's first look at the two forms that we're very familiar with already. We're already familiar with standard form. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay. And we're also used to factored form. And factored form, if I were to sort of put symbols to it, it maybe look like this. Y equals x plus a times x plus b, and our x and a and b are different values, and we could have values in front of the x's and stuff like that. So like factored form is in that sort of general capacity. Vertex form looks like this. We have y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. All right, so each one of these has different characteristics and different greatnesses about them. Also has different cons about each and every one of them. So let's talk about each of those things. Standard form, we're used to this. We've been working with this for quite a while. Some of the pros are we can easily find the a, b, and c, so we can like put it into the quadratic formula. We can manipulate it in multiple different ways. We can turn it into factored form. We can play around with it in terms of square roots. We can do completing the square, which you learned this last week, and we can use the quadratic equation. There's all sorts of different, it's super easily manipulatable. Yeah, so a pro is it's versatile. We can manipulate it to find our x's really, really easily. So it's versatile. We can easily find our x's. We can also call those roots, yeah? We can easily also find A, B, and C for when we're using the quadratic formula, yeah? Some cons to this, this is not, and we've already practiced it, this is like a bear to deal with when we're trying to graph. It is not good for graphing at all. It's a total pain in the butt. It's not fun at all when we want to graph. Pros, it's versatile. It's easy to find our x's. We can easily find a, b, and c for the quadratic equation. Cons, it sucks for graphing. All right, factored form. Factored form is already it's already been manipulated from the standard form. If we were to think about factored form versus standard form, and you were to think of like the sides of a rectangle, if I were to look at the sides of a rectangle, factored form sort of describes one side times another side of that rectangle, whereas standard form describes the area inside of those things. So we're looking at side length times side length for factored form versus the area model for the inside of this. Ax squared plus bx plus c. So we're looking at that sort of thing. So factored form is already manipulated. So that's kind of a pro. We can easily find our x's. Already manipulated, easy to find x's or roots. Some cons, to get it back into standard form, we have to do a bit of work. To get it into what's called vertex form, we have to do a lot of work. So cons, it's like we have to do quite a bit to be able to use a quadratic equation, be able to do like any sort of graphing, that sort of thing. So cons, it's not great for graphing. And so it's not great for graphing, and you have to manipulate it to do anything. So if we were to use a quadratic equation, we'd have to manipulate it to find our A, B, and C, that sort of thing. But few things, it's already manipulated and easy to find your x's if it was easily factorable in the first place, as well as it kind of shows us like this area model. Cool. So we've looked at two different forms, standard form and factored form. Our last form, vertex form, is, if you ask me, my favorite format of quadratic equations, and I'm kind of bummed that we only like talk about it for a couple of days, because I feel like it's so incredibly helpful in so many different ways. So I've talked about how standard form in the past sucks for graphing. It's horrible for graphing. We're constantly like having to deal with this x squared plus bx. You have to do so much work of like just plugging numbers in to actually get this to work out. Thing about vertex form is you can easily find the vertex with it. It like just falls right out of the thing. It's awesome. You can also easily see how wide or narrow it is. You can also see if the parabola is going to open up or down super duper easily. It's awesome. It's like vertex form is literally built for graphing, which is great. So pros, it is built for graphing. Okay. One great thing about it is with vertex form is truly like exactly what it says it is. It is quite clearly an easy way for us to find the vertex of a parabola. The vertex is always HK. So if you look at this, we have y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So if I were to take whatever value this h is, if this had a minus sign, it's like literally the number right there. So if this was like x minus 8, I'd say the x value of our vertex is 8. And then whatever this k is, I'm going to put it there. Now, I have to pay attention to this minus here and the plus here. If h is a plus value here, if this says plus, my h that I'm going to put in here is going to be negative. The k, if this has a negative sign right here, that means my k that I'm bringing down here is negative. I have to pay attention. This form, including the minus and the plus, matters so important, so much with vertex form and actually like writing your vertex out. So pros, you can easily find the vertex, the HK, it falls right out. You can also see based on this A term, we know that A tells us if it's going to open up or down. And now in the next few videos, we're also going to understand how A tells us how it gets wider or narrower depending on what value is here. So you can see with A if the equation is going to open up or down and how wide or narrow it is. So if we sort of know the pattern of quadratics, we can then just use that pattern to graph, which is awesome based on one single point that we have. So then the A tells us if it's going to be up or down for opening and if it's going to be wide or narrow. Sweet. Cons, it's not easy to find my A, B, and C. I can only find my A in this. So it's not easy to find A, B, and C. Are not easily visible. And on top of that, so my A, B, and C are not easily visible. It's not super easy to find roots. I can't spell today. Okay, so standard form, factored form, vertex form, pros and cons of each. We are going to get nice and dirty with this vertex form over the next few videos. All right, thanks for watching. we are going to get a couple of examples under our belt in this next video. Bye.